I've been working on a bourbon barrel-aged imperial stout. I've tried wood staves, oak chips soaked in bourbon. I'm thinking about just throwing a few ounces of my favorite bourbon in an imperial stout keg and seeing how it goes. Have you successfully achieved this flavor profile? What I'll say about that is you need to look bigger picture. If you pour bourbon into a beer, it is maybe akin to microwaving a steak. Okay, you can get it cooked and it will be cooked, but it will be gray and it will be gross. And I'm not super into that. So you need to look at the barrel as an ingredient, okay? And it just so happens that it's an ingredient that requires time. When we think about barrel aging a beer, it's not just that you're inserting a spirit flavor into a beer. There's all sorts of things going on. There's all sorts of nuance. And just adding the spirit to the beer isn't going to necessarily bring you all that nuance. I've used a handful of different products. I've used spirals, cubes. I've never used chips or powder. I know there is powder available as well. I've used full-size bourbon barrels, and I have used 15-gallon bourbon barrels. What I will say about it is if you want to get a really nice, nuanced barrel-aged beer, on some level, I do think that that beer actually needs to go into a barrel that had spirits in it. There's so much complexity that comes out of those barrels. I would absolutely suggest, if you can, looking into the work that Julian Trego has done. I know he has a paper published with the MBAA on barrel aging and his approaches there. It is absolutely fantastic. It's a killer read, and you need to get your hands on it, or listen to some podcasts. I believe there are some podcasts where he's talked about those techniques. Killer information. There's so much going on with that contact time of that beer and that barrel. Yes, you're getting the infusion of whatever spirit is left in that wood, but you are also pulling out many compounds out of the wood itself, the coconut notes, the creme brulee, the caramel, all these different aspects, even the wood flavor itself, right? There's all these things coming together, and it actually requires time in the barrel to extract those things. Another thing is there is micro-oxidation that is happening in a barrel. So if you are going to fill a barrel and use it, I would treat it like you would any other vessel that you're putting finished beer into. I would purge it with CO2 and then fill it with finished beer and leave it in there, man. If you're using large barrels, I really do think, like regular traditional bourbon barrels, I really do think those big, robust stouts that you're putting in there probably do need a year. They really probably do. And try to build up your body as big as you can when you're putting those beers in the barrel. That's my personal thought. People can almost never have enough body in those barrel-aged beers. If you're using a smaller type barrel, like what I did with the 15-gallon barrel, I have found that the 15-gallon barrel, I had to pull those beers out of there after about 9 weeks. And the bourbon character was even personally maybe a little more robust than what I tend to like. Then I like more subtle, more nuanced barrel-aged beers, not just blast you in the face. I don't think the beers that we took out of that were blast you in the face or anything like that, but it's definitely a little bit more aggressive than it was before, a little bit more warming, everything like that. So yeah, I mean, if you really want that barrel character, it's not the same thing just pouring the spirit in there. You actually need contact time with wood, that micro-oxidation. And then also thinking about it like this, some of the really big beers that people are putting in, 14, 15% beers, the alcohol in those beers needs to mellow, all right? So it can use that time as well, okay? If you're going with a lower ABV beer, like a 9% beer in there, that might not be as big of a consideration, but it is part of the puzzle. All right, everybody, thank you so much for watching. If you feel as if you got any value out of the video, please like and subscribe. There are also other videos that you can watch. They're gonna maybe be over here or over here. Appreciate you watching.